Explain what is toxic positivity.
Toxic positivity. We've had this discussion a few times.
Yeah.
I'm going to get the definition.
So I would say toxic positivity, it's similar to like the endless pursuit for happiness.
Mhm.
And that's a whole other discussion. But toxic positivity is when, like, let's say you're in a situation. We're taught to remain positive, which is great. Really, what that means is to try to find the positive in situations so that you can move forward. But in a situation where, let's say I didn't do, or let's say I am having a bad day, I broke my ankle, okay? I can lie to myself and to everybody else around me and say that the situation is great. And that's not going to help the situation. It could actually make it worse.
Right.
If somebody just lost their parents, that's a really crappy situation to be in. And you can really hurt somebody, either guilt trip them or something like that by saying, "Oh, find the positive." You know, you could be dead. And it's like, no, don't minimize their situation and their pain.
Right.
They're going through a legitimately bad situation, and legitimately bad situations occur in life. They have to occur in life.
Okay,
It's a part of life. So acknowledge their situation, and the best way to deal with that is find solutions to look at the positive sign, find the positive in it, not diminish the actual negative that's going on. That's an actual thing. It's actually something that's very commonly used with like manipulators and things like that. They actually try to guilt trip you for the situation that they either put you in or that you're in, and you can actually feel bad for feeling bad about a situation
That's
that you should
gaslighting.
feel bad about.
Right.
It is. It's gaslighting. That's toxic positivity. Yeah, be positive, but find the positive in situations. Don't try to diminish the already negative situation.
Right. You're going to read the definition?
Okay, so toxic positivity is the overgeneralization of a happy, optimistic state that results in denial, minimization, and invalidation of the authentic human emotional experience.
Right. Okay. Well. Okay. So with toxic positive, the definition you've given there, I was thinking at the same time, a lot of situations, specifically the example you're talking about, someone suffers a loss. A lot of times, people, it's like, what do you say in that situation? And a lot of times, you have situations where like a person needs, or it seems like a person is losing. Because sometimes when you lose something huge, it seems like, what is the purpose of living?
Right.
And so you need, like, sometimes you're asking that question and someone needs to is coming in there and like trying to help you give the reasons.
Yeah, but helping is
Would
not
that come off as
minimizing the
toxic
situation.
Right.
Helping, and I know a lot of people, it depends on the person and the situation, obviously. I mean, sometimes, people aren't looking for an immediate solution. They're looking for somebody to at least show that they care. So there's that. But aside from that, looking for someone to have a listening ear, you just lost so much and you're feeling really screwed up about it and you just want someone to listen. So there's that, and show that they care. But then there's also, ways out and solutions and things like that, and the steps to take once, to cope with that loss and to deal with that, which is actually the helpful thing to do. But that has nothing to do with minimizing their situation. That's helping them out of the situation or helping them move forward. Or let's see, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier about lying to yourself and lying to others, because really what that is, it's a lie. It's a twisting of the truth, for either your own gain or for manipulation, whether you realize it or not. It's like, I see people at times, someone steals something from them. And in order to look at the positive side, oh, maybe he didn't actually, and it's a literal blatant lie that they tell themselves.
Yeah.
And it develops a pattern. Maybe he didn't actually steal it. Maybe he only thought it was his.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's, I see people do it a lot under guise of trying to find the positive in a situation. They'll literally lie to themselves and tell themselves something that they know to be untrue. It's a dangerous place to be, because you end up being okay with lying to yourself and being okay with living in a false reality. It's a horrible place to be.
And then, especially with the grieving, I can see how very dangerous and how it could be damaging in the long run, because the same people who are saying I lost somebody and I chose to look at the positive. Those are the same people who don't want to talk about, who don't want to deal with.
Well, they never
their
actually dealt
loss.
with the loss.
They never dealt with it properly.
And so that
whenever
trauma keeps coming up.
whenever they find themselves, dwelling on these things, they're like, "What's occurring? I was so positive about it. I let the situation, run its course." But you didn't really let the situation run its course.
Yeah, and those are the same
know.
people that end up thinking everybody has a problem with them, they're a burden and all this other
Right.
stuff because they don't deal with any of their actual situations. They keep just with the toxic positivity trying to brush them over with something positive or think that it could always be worse instead of actually dealing with the situation, facing the emotions, working through them, and then coming out actually positive.
Right.
That's how you actually come out positive, is by dealing with the situation. But you
Where do
can't
you
just paint it over.
Where do you think it falls in, the situations where you're talking to somebody, you've gone through something, or you've been through something, and basically more like dealing with a narcissist, and it's that basically I like to describe it as, in order to show you that I can sympathize, I'm gonna tell you that I can sympathize, and I've been through similar, and so it's like minimalizing what you're going through by saying, I went through this at this time. Where do you think that falls in?
So that's interesting because I find
It's similar. It's similar.
It is. I find that's something that I do,
right,
personally, and I'm trying.
Oh, we're opening up yours.
Oh, hey, no, seriously, and I have my theories as to why I do it, but so I'm trying to learn to immediately, because my common thing, and it's to me it seems like a nice part of the conversation. Like somebody says, "Oh, I lost my car once. It rolled down a hill," and I'm like, "Oh, I did that too. I lost my car once. It also rolled down a hill," and I feel like that's showing empathy.
Okay,
it's
that's
like
not the best example though, because you just
I know,
the
but
way you said that.
let me continue. Let me continue. So that's how it worked in my brain, and I think there are some people that they just automatically feel like they're showing that they care. But what it really does is it immediately takes the conversation away from that person and then flips it to them. That's actually a really selfish way of holding a conversation.
Right.
They tell you their problem, and then you immediately flip it and start telling them your problem that you also had. And sometimes you might even show how your problem was worse than their problem. And it's a bad way to have a conversation. So
it's a horrible way.
It is very horrible. And that's why I'm saying, it's something that I got to be better at. I think in some cases it can be a narcissist's way, or a person who, thinks of themselves higher as a way to just show that, oh, well, your problem is minimized now because mine was worse.
Right.
Or I also had a thing. And I think there's a lot of people who also do it trying to show that they care, or that they can care, because they also had a similar situation. But it's something we got to be careful about. You can't just throw your problem out there, and even if you're trying to sympathize, it can be damaging to the person.
Right.
So I say the way to deal with that, the way I've worked on it, is flip the conversation, act like you are saying the thing that they just said. How would you want them to respond?
Right.
And try to respond in that. It's something you got to do really quick, but try to respond in that way.
I find it's a vocalization of the station, because it's understandable, I think, in a person to when someone shares something, to go, okay, how, okay, what is something similar that I can understand? That could be a form of empathy, to be like, all right, you lost something. Well, when have I lost something? What is it like to lose things? How did I deal? I think that for me, the best way it works out, and the way I go with it, if I'm in those situations, is never a vocalization. You never start off with, well, I've been through the same thing. Generally what I do is I take out the point.
Okay.
So if I'm going to give you advice, right? The point of what I got from when I went something similar.
Right.
And so then I just introduce the idea and so go, listen, I don't know if this helps, but when I went through whatever,
that's nice.
Whatever,
like
this is what I experienced, or this is whatever. Instead of just jumping into, well, I've been in the same place. Because that blunts it. One, it's a recognition, because we're all different. It's a recognition of it erases that minimizing of it, to be like, well, yeah, you're not the only person who suffers pain. You know what I mean? I've been through pain too.
Right.
But it's really the important part of that conversation. I'm giving you the important aspect, because really what matters is the advice aspect.
Yeah.
The idea that I can empathize, that I've seen pain and suffering as
it
well,
has nothing to
is
do with
not the
anything.
important part of the conversation.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest issue, is when a person immediately goes to, and I've always thought of it in my head as a person, and it goes in, there's the gaslighting aspect. I've always thought of my head as a person, like, it's part of the minimalizing it, but has like needing to validate the fact.
It's an ego and status thing.
Yeah, needing to validate, like,
I'm a great person.
I have done the same thing. I know
Right.
it's, it's not, but it's not about you. It's not about you you're not alone. It's like, yeah, you're not special. I feel pain too.
Yeah.
And that's because, that's the aspect of how being the victim of something, suffering things, has become kind of, almost romanticized.
Yeah.
To be like, I've been through things. Listen, guys, we're doing great things here at the Lamplight Productions, and you can be a part of it for the low price of $0.00, because all you gotta do is subscribe, ring the bell, ding dong, you can't go wrong. Or don't. It's a free country. Do whatever you want. Though I don't know how you can live with yourself.